Good day, everyone. You're welcome back to the channel. This is Yuglo Fashion, and thank you so much for stopping by. In today's tutorial, I'll be sharing the making of this drape gown with asymmetric neck. It also have a gong sleeve, and this tutorial is beginner friendly. So please stay tuned and enjoy the tutorial till the end. Like I said, it's beginner friendly. That is, it is well detailed. So please ensure you like and share as well. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And for all my returning subscribers, I'm very grateful. God will continue to prosper the works of your hands. Thank you and stay blessed. So for this tutorial, I used brocade fabric of 2 yards, and also I have lining and paper stay as well. You can use your ear stay like I do say, but I'll be making use of paper stay. This and also small pieces of wording for the bustier. And this is the measurement I worked with. My client is a skinny person, like size 6 also, so that's why the 2 years was able to sew this style. So if you are the plus size, you will use more than this. Even if you are size 10, you use more than that. You can use like 3 yards plus. And for the calculation of the hip, I measured the hip circumference, that's 36.5 divided by 4. You know, all our bodies will be divided by 4 whenever you are sewing. Next, I'll calculate the skirt length because that's the part I will cut first. So to get this, you just subtract your half length from your gown length. So the gown length I'm working with today is 45 minus 15 inches. That's the half length. So that will give 26 inches. And the 26 inches, I will add 1 inch for M. So I'll add 1 inch allowance to make 27 inches. And please note that I will still add half inch to the waistline because I'll connect that part to the bustier. Then I cut part of the fabric, the part that will be used for the skirt. I placed it on the table on fold. Then later I also folded the part that is joined on top of the opened part to make 4 foldings. It was 2 foldings before, so now it's folded into 4 now. Then I ensure I left 2 inches for zipper allowance. That's because I will be cutting both the front and the back bodies together now of the skirt. I'm cutting both the front and the back bodies of the skirt together. Then arrange everything together, ensure they are equal. You can pin it down, and after that you measure from the half length to the hip point. And to do this, like I said earlier, I will use half inch to connect the skirt to the bustier. So first of all, I'll first remove the half inch. So this is the half inch. Next, I'll place the tape on that half inch. You know, from shoulder to bust to half length is 15 inches. So I'll place 15 inches on that half inch allowance. Then measure 24 inches for the hip point. So, and next I measured the allowance from waistline to hip, which gives me 8.5. You know, I said my client is not fat, so for a fat person you can use 9-10 inches. So from that point again, I measured 34 inches, that is from 15 to 34 inches. And when you just place your tape on one to measure, you get like 18 to 19 inches. So that will be for the nail length. So I used 34 inches for the nail length. If your client is tall, if you are the tall type, you can use 36, 37 inches, depends on the height. Next, after ruling everything out, this is the hip, this is the nail length, and also the M. So after marking everything out, you can see I've also chalked the zipper allowance. Next, you measure the total circumference. So for the total circumference of the waistline, which is the half length, I have 27 inches 0.5. So if you divide that by 4, and whatever you have, you mark it out. Next, you move to the hip side, also divide the hip by 4. We've done that before. I have 9.1 there. The hip is 36.5. So divided by 4 will give 9.1 inches. So, and I proceed to mark the 9.1 inches at the hip. And for the new length, you can just say the total circumference of the hip minus 4 divided by 4. But this is a long mathematics, but to be easy, to make it easy, just say 9.1 minus 1. So this will give you 8.1. Then you mark 8.1 at the nail length and also at the M. So whatever you have at the nail length is what you mark at the M line. Next, after doing that, you proceed to connect the lines together. So this is what it looks like. And after that, you mark 2 inches for seam allowance, and you start your marking from the waistline down to the M as well, and you proceed to connect the dots. Next, I cut out the excess, and I proceed to mark the darts. So for the darts, I use the nipple to nipple span divided by 2. So then I placed it on the fabric at the middle, then mark the 3.25 that I have there. Then from that point, I marked 4.5. That's the length of the dart for the front. And after connecting it, I placed the tape back on the dart. Then I marked ½ inch on both sides, at the sides. Then roll it back to the 4.5 this way. Now that's the darts for the front. Next, I picked and I notched it, and also I notched the middle of the skirt, and also the M of the skirt. I notched it because I'll be folding this little part inside, and I separated the front from the back. Next, I proceed to mark the dart of the back. So I marked 3.25 here, and the length I used for the back is 5 inches instead of the 4.5 I used for the front, and I connected it back to the waistline. And on both sides, just the way I did for the front, I marked half at the edge of both sides, then connected it back this way. So that is for the back dart. Next is to shape the butt side, and to do that, at the knee length here, after the zipper allowance, you mark 1 inch and connect it back to the hip point. So if you notice, the knee length now will be short with 1 inch. So it's because I cut both the front and the back bodies together. If I were to cut them separately, I'll just add back the 1 inch to the side. But because I did the two together, so there's no way I'll be adding the 1 inch back. But anyway, this does not really have any side effect on the skirt. Believe me, it doesn't have any side effect on the skirt. It will still come out well. Next, you cut it out. Now we have our front pattern and the back pattern of the skirt already on the table. Next, I proceed to cut the lining of the back bodies, as I'll be stitching that first. So I cut the lining and I ensure it's short with 1 inch because I will use it to turn the M side. So I'll pin the two together on top of each other this way, and proceed to the machine to stitch. So after stitching the two together, this is what it looks like, and I've also stitched the dart part of it. Next is to stitch the front. To do this, I'll pin the lining and the fabrics together all around and proceed to the machine to stitch. So now I've stitched it. You can see the way it's looking. Next is the bustier. So for this bustier, I may not be able to explain in full how I did it because I don't want this tutorial to be too long, but I'll drop the link in the description box. I have lots of videos on how to cut bustier, but let me just rush through it. I first measured all the bodice pattern, all the body's circumference, and I marked the nipple to nipple span. And after the nipple to nipple span, I also marked 2 inches, which I connected from bust point to the allowance as well. You can see the distance of 2 inches in between the two. So this is just to separate the middle and the side. At the bust point here, I'll mark ½ inch, and after marking the ½ inch, I'll connect it with slant back to the under bust, then connect it to the 4.5 at the armhole side. You can see the way it's being done. Next, I'll connect the remaining 1.5 with cuff ruler and link it to the armhole. Just follow it this way, connect the cuff, yes, like this, then place the cuff ruler this way again and connect to the armhole side. So now this is, now we have 2 pieces already. Next is to extend the bust part, because the bust part and the middle side must align. If they don't, the bust part will be shorter. So you have to add to the length there. Having done with that, we proceed to the allowance side. So first of all, you add back the 2 inches, the first 2 inches at the middle, you add it back. I mean the one you used to differentiate the middle and the side, to separate the bust part. You mark it, you add it back, and after adding it back, you still add 2 inches for seam allowance. So now the next thing is to mark out the unwanted parts here and cut the paper. Now the pattern is ready for the bustier. This is what it looks like, but just ensure you notch the under bust because they must align while sewing. So next is the back, and I've already drafted the bodies as well. I did the same for the front. The difference here is just the zipper allowance of 2 inches, which I added before drafting the bodice pattern. But for this back, I like this method because it always gives me perfect work. It's not necessary that you do your own this way. You can just cut out this and sew it like that. It will still give you the same result. But if our back is shorter than the front because of the bust. So if I do mine this way, it always gives me accurate back bodies that I want. So from this 4.5, I'll link it to the nipple to nipple span, which I marked earlier. I'll link it to the hem line of the nipple to nipple span. Then at the other edge here, I'll mark another 2 inches, just the way I did for the front, 2 inches in between the two. So this is the 2 inches I linked. For the front, after the nipple to nipple span, I marked another 2 inches. The same thing I did for the back here too. I marked another 2 inches. So in between the 2 inches I used to separate the side and the middle, I will add it back. And while adding, please remember where the body's measurement ends. Don't go and start from the one you used to separate, or don't go and start from the line that you used to separate. Add up from where the measurement ends. So after adding the 2 inches, I proceed to add the normal seam allowance as well, and marked out the unwanted parts from the pattern, and also reshape the zipper side. I also extended this part as well. I've forgotten to mention that I extended this part because I don't want it to be short while stitching. So for the zipper side, I reshaped the zipper allowance in order to avoid any budge while fixing the zip. So I just marked 1 inch at the zipper and connected it this way. So this is the bodice pattern of the front and the back, and I've cut it out on my lining. Next, I'll stitch everything together. That is, all the front pattern, I'll stitch them together. All the back pattern, I'll stitch them together. So this is the back. You can see the 4 pieces. I picked these pieces to form something like ball. So I'll place it in between the front and the back. This will help me lift the bust side up, and you can pin this down so that it won't be falling off. And you cut out the excess at the back. You can see that when you put the ball inside, the back is a bit longer than the front, so you cut it out at the shoulder level. When you cut it out, next is to reshape the armhole side. Now, after reshaping the armhole side, you proceed to the neckline. Please ensure that they balance well at the hem too. That's why the front is looking longer than the back. They are the same. It's because I did not pin it. So later I proceed to pin. So you can see them now. They align well, and I reshape the armhole properly. And you cut the neckline. For the neckline, I used 3 inches for the width, and for the length I marked 1.5. That's because I'm still cutting both the neckline and the front together. You know, they are still on top of each other. I just marked 1.5 inch and I cut it out. Next is to lose the thread, and after losing it, this is what it looks like. Now we have our 4 pieces for the back and 3 pieces for the front, and I proceed to cut the neckline of the front. So you can see it has asymmetric neck. So to cut the asymmetric neck, I came to this edge here, to this side of the neckline, and I marked 4 inches, 4.5 inches. Depends on how low you want it to be. Then I just connected it with slant shape. You can see the way it's connected, and proceed to cut it out. So that's the neckline. And please, when you are cutting, ensure you check well where the style is facing, that is the neckline is facing, before you cut your fabric. So I checked and I cut the fabric. You have to check whether it's facing the right side, the asymmetric neck, or the left side, so that you don't make mistake. And also I cut the side on the fabric as well. I did the same for the back, and I've added interface to both the bodies, to the fabric and the lining as well. So for the front, I cut the waddy. I have videos on this as well. I cut the waddy, and you can use your iron to gum it, or you stitch on it. At times, if you use iron, it may not melt the gum inside well, so you can stitch on it. Next is to flip it over and stitch. So to the right side, and first of all you pin it round. Like I do say, ensure the underbust align. First pin the underbust and then proceed to the machine to stitch. So I've stitched, and I opened it up and ironed, and also ironed at the wrong side, at the right side too, and I've done the same to the lining as well. So next step now is to stitch the neckline, and I pinned it around, stitch on it, and give it a good press. Now our bustier is ready. You can see it's neatly sewn. Next is to fix the skirt part of the front bodies. Now we are making progress. So just notch the middle and stitch on it. So I do turn my own lining this way. You can stitch on it like this and end up weaving it, but I like it being stitched this way. It's not necessary you do it the way I did mine. So I first of all stitch the fabric with the skirt, then flip the lining this way and top stitch the lining on it. So after stitching, I stitch the edges as well, and I drag it out from the armhole, and also proceed to iron. You can see the inside. It's not compulsory that you do it this way, please. Then after ironing, I mark 3 inches right after the measurement of the waistline. Please, you can add the belt holder because there is a belt holder there. You can add the belt holder even before stitching the bustier to the skirt. Then I cut 4 inches for the length of the belt holder and also 2 inches for the width, and I folded it this way. At the wrong side, you first do first folding, then fold on it again and fold the 2 on top of each other and pin it down to the marked area. Then you top stitch on it. So this is our belt holder. Our belt holder is ready. Next is drape, and for drapes there's no specific measurement for making this type of drape, but as for me, I used my client's hip circumference, which is 36. I used 36 for her. It depends on how long or wide you want the drape to be. And for the width, I used 26 inches. You know, I'll still be stitching some inside, so I'll have to fold the edges, and I proceed to the machine to do so. I folded it this way and proceed to fold the 3 edges. I left 1 edge unstitched because I'll be stitching that to the bodies of the dress. So the next thing is to start our drape. So when you are draping, please just check the style you are trying to make and drape accordingly. Drape according to the style you are making. So, and I've already done that, and I gave it a good press. Next is to fix this to pass it through the hole, the belt hole. So this is very easy to do. Now we are done with the front part of the dress. So I'll cut out the excess I have at the edge here and stitch on it. First stitch before cutting anyways. So I proceed to stitch, then cut the excess at the edge here. Next is the back bodice. So for the back, I'll first stitch the upper part of it. So this is it, and when I'm done, I ironed it open this way and turn it with the lining. So I did the same for the lining and just stitch both the lining and the fabrics together, and also iron. Now I'm done ironing and everything is set. Next is to fix it to the skirt. So to fix it, I will still do it the same way I did for the front. Just place the skirt in between the upper bodies and stitch just the way you did for the front. And this is what it looks like after stitching, you can see. Next is to stitch the knee length, and to do this, you pin from the hip side down to the allowance you gave as the slit side. You know there's split there, so you pin to that stage and stitch on it. So after stitching, I also proceed to fix the zipper, and now we are done with the back. The next step is to fix both the back and the front together. So first of all, you pick the shoulder side and stitch the shoulders together. This is how to go about it. You put one in between the other, then you stitch on it. Now that we are done with that, the next thing is to fix our sleeve. So before them, just top stitch, reshape the armor and top stitch on it, and you fix. Please, I will have to stop here and share with you the making of the gong sleeve in my next video, because I feel this video is very long. So thank you very much for watching this video to the end. Bye and stay blessed.